Buffalo Bills running back James Cook is unhappy with the Bills. Adam Schefter had already been reporting that James Cook was holding out, looking for a new contract. Talks are going nowhere right now. This after the fact that James Cook last year rushed for 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, a league leading 16 touchdowns, and averaged 4.9 yards per attempt. James Cook's contract situation, he had signed a 4-year, $5.8 million deal with the Bills. This year, he is set to make his actual base salary is set to spike. He's set to go. He made 705 in 2022, 970 in 2023, 1.16 million in 2024, and his 5.27 in 2025. So his base salary is expected to spike to over 5 million this year. But he's going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2026. He wants a long-term deal. He's holding out. I understand James Cook's point. I understand why he wants the long-term deal. I've talked about this in the past. I understand with Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, what they've done, why he would want that. Derrick Henry was signed by Baltimore, and that turned out to be one of the biggest signings possible because Baltimore would have made the playoffs. Would have won the Super Bowl had it not been for Mark Andrews dropping a pass. Meanwhile, he leaves the Titans, and the Titans get the number one pick in the draft as the worst team. On the other side, the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley, and they go and win the Super Bowl because they signed it. There is a renaissance of running backs in the NFL now. There's a renaissance of successful running backs in the NFL. And a lot of this has to do with the way defenses have played recently because of the obsession and kowtowing to quarterbacks that the league has done, which has opened up more passing offenses. Defenses are a lot softer. There's a lot more defensive backs, fewer defensive linemen able to stop the run, particularly fewer linebackers out on the field. And so now there is a movement and a transition back to an elite running game if you can do it. And James Cook sees that value as he enters his 5th year, where he's set to make $5.7 million this year, and he wants to go ahead and sign an extension now. I understand it, and I have no knock on him wanting to do it. According to reports, though, the situation is not good. The bitterness is real between Cook and the organization. Schefter said that he doesn't think we'll be seeing James Cook in Buffalo anytime soon. He says the start of training camp will be the next critical moment. If they don't have a deal done there or by then, does James Cook show up for training camp? Does he risk the penalties that come along with the collective bargaining agreement if he doesn't show up? That's a really good question. Now, after showing James Cook the most amount of respect I could possibly show him, I'm sorry, James Cook, Buffalo should renegotiate. They should not renegotiate at all. James Cook, I'm a fan of as a player and as a person, and I think there's a place for him as a valuable running back in the NFL. But James Cook is not an irreplaceable running back. Very few are. He didn't even average 5 yards a carry this past year. Now, you can point out he led the league in touchdowns. Rushing touchdowns, first of all, touchdowns in general, rushing and passing, are just overrated stats, okay? They are. There's a lot that goes into that. You get a bunch of 1-yard goal line plays and you run for a touchdown, you're going to get a rushing touchdown, okay? Moving the ball is more important than the actual touchdowns themselves and these stats. And so rushing touchdowns is an overrated stat. Also, rushing for 1,009 yards, it's not like he rushed for 1,500, 1,600 yards, is also not worthy of a big long-term deal. Yeah, I would let James Cook walk. I would. Now, the value to James Cook to a lot of people is that Josh Allen is losing a step. He's not going to be able to run the way he once was. He had 531 rushing yards last year and 12 touchdowns. Who cares? Who cares? You don't spend, even in the era and in the Renaissance era of running backs, you don't want to overspend on running backs. You don't want to spend too much on what they bring to the table because they're still replaceable, particularly given the fact that a huge part of the running game comes to the interior offensive line. I just talked about the renaissance of the Derrick Henrys of the world. Well, what's really forgotten about is that the Titans' best year ever when they had Derrick Henry during the regular season was 2021 when they got the number one seed in the playoffs. Guess what? Derrick Henry missed the final 7 games of that year with an injury, and then he came back for the playoffs, and they lost the first round of the playoffs to the Bengals, their first playoff game. Why were they still so good? Because their interior blocking was fine. They had Ben Jones, Roger Saffold, Nate Davis. It didn't matter that Derrick Henry went down for half the season, okay? Because the biggest thing for them was that interior offensive line. And it allowed for Deontay Foreman to average two rush for 566 yards, and average 4.3 yards per attempt. It allowed for Dontrell Hilliard to average 6.3 yards per attempt, and it allowed for Ryan Tannehill to stay elite. Now, yes, they did have A.J. Brown to throw to open things up, but the point of the matter was Derrick Henry was more than anything a beneficiary of that system, as we saw, as good of a running back as he was. So if you wouldn't see that difference for Derrick Henry, you're not going to see it for James Cook. So I'm sorry. I think Buffalo should let James Cook walk. I respect and understand James Cook's decision to want more money, but he's not worth it. You can find another guy if you're Buffalo. It's not that hard. And truth be told, you should never be wasting time spending, buying and trying to get a running back of that nature. Okay, I'm just sorry, but the running backs that you would open the checkbook for have to be beyond elite. Buffalo will be fine. I firmly believe that. They they still have a good overall offense with Sean McDermott leading the way as the head coach, and they don't necessarily need to up the money to get James Cook. Okay, they just don't. They just don't. And Ray Davis, by the way, is in Buffalo as we speak. He just completed his rookie season at 5'8", 220. He's a power back, not the same level of shiftiness. We'll acknowledge that James Cook has. That's fair, but he can still be very effective. And then Buffalo has other options they can go to too, because again, it's just not hard to find a running back. I would say that Ty Johnson, a veteran, I think he can do what James Cook did. As a matter of fact, for those who don't know, Ty Johnson averaged more yards a carry last year, 5.2. It's a backup. So I'm sorry. Love you, James Cook. Respect everything about what you're trying to do. But if I'm Buffalo, when you're knocking on the door of the Super Bowl, don't hamper that just to, out of emotions and respect for a player, open a checkbook for him. He doesn't deserve it. He's not worth it. Buffalo needs to move on if James Cook is going to force them to.